BIG versus what could be TYLOO's as we square off in what is an elimination game here at the StarSeries Season 6 in Kiev. And, of course, now I have some fresh faces over here. I got Chad Burchill and a man that is the king of banter, the edginess of Edge, Duncan Thornshield.
Did you have a bit of edge on that intro? Did you say TYLOO's?
What I like about that is, first of all,
pretty good.
that should be a thing. And also, if you think how they play TYLOO's. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah?
Once you start using that, that's good, yeah.
Sorry,
You've nailed it.
Sometimes I get some right, sometimes I get them wrong. Either way, what could go right here and what could go wrong is an elimination. These teams are back against the wall. Somebody's going home today, whether they like it or not. Personally, Kiev's not that bad, so.
Well, you think they should hang around?
I mean, yeah, why not?
If they don't hang around, can I have their practice room? This camera. That's the question. Hopefully someone in production saw that.
I mean, to be fair, you do need practice after that show match that we
That's
saw.
true.
You
I
need
did
get
lose
your
to
level
this
back
guy
up
right
again.
here. Hey, here we go. Cool, yeah. Anyway, Trace,
right out the gate.
which team are we starting with?
Let's start with a little bit of TYLOO because I feel like this team has its ups and downs. We know about the communication issues. We know about some of the dilemmas that they face within this lineup. But TYLOO is a team that is not going to go off the radar, and perhaps they have been within the top of CS for a little bit now. They've had that exposure. They've been around for long enough to know the ins and outs, to know what to expect when they come to an event like this, and to find themselves back against the wall. It should be pretty interesting to see what they come out with.
Just look at the Power Rangers to me with all those different hair colors. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's not bad, man.
Thing is that obviously what makes this a potentially interesting match is not just the elimination factor, it's the mad clash of styles, background, mentality for what the game of Counter-Strike is, because we know Big's going to be very fundamental, they're going to have a really nice map pool, we know exactly the structure of what player does what. In TYLOO, it is TYLOO's. It's just, it's really out there as to what they do. I mean, the maddest thing is, when I saw them when they were playing all those tournaments, like the CSGO Asia Championship, where they had like a stand-in at the time, I actually have watched those demos. I watched the recent ones, and I watched the ones just before they had to make the stand-in. It doesn't seem like anything changed, even though they had a totally different fifth player. They actually had a guy that wasn't even in their team. Like, they play a very, very similar style all the time. It's just their mentality for the game.
I think if you look at this TYLOO roster and the games that they've lost here, they lost to Renegades on their best map of Mirage, which for me is the most worrying sign. When I look at TYLOO, they have 3 maps that they're good at. They have Mirage, they have Inferno, and they have Cage. The fact is, they lost on Inferno as well to ENCE. Now, ENCE, to me, are a team who are doing things right. They're playing the fundamentally sound European brand of Counter-Strike. They have their stars playing well. So that's not such a huge, factor, them losing. It's the fact that they lost 16-6. Now, the only game that they won was against Hellraisers, and that was on Overpass, which, isn't towards the top of their map pool by any means. So there's good and bad signs with that. It means going up against Big, if they do get to an Overpass, if they, then they could actually have a shot at winning that series, which is the biggest issue in this game. What Duncan was mentioning, stylistically, sure, TYLOO are more loose, they run around, they do their more disruptive plays, but the map pool is also a concern going up against Big. You can see here Inferno, Mirage, Train, Cage all towards the top here, whereas it is most likely going to like they're going to have to ban Nuke, they're going to have to ban Dust 2. Then it just comes down to, are they happy to either play Overpass or Train?
I don't think they want any part
Big.
of that Train. I mean, there's going to be no Overpass because of Big, but that's the concern there. Yeah, you could end up on something like Train, and I do not think that's going to suit this style and the opponent.
It's either going to be, in my opinion, Cage or Overpass. I'm getting in early here, but
you're a little premature,
real
Chad.
early.
Probably
I
not the
usually
first
am.
time.
Usually
Yeah, there
am.
you go. Admittance is the first step, they say. Let's talk a little bit about Big Clan now. Got B, Taps, and Tizzy and Nex, and that Butterfield kid. What do we know about the Butterfield?
People chant his name, and it sounds like a yogurt brand.
Okay, Duncan?
Okay. Pretty good player, generally. The problem is, unrefined, obviously he's so young in his career. This is the first real team he's played in terms of like professional level. Obviously playing under a great in-game leader. There's the real potential to be crafted into a player who could be a star player. The thing about Smoothie is, it reminds me of as soon as they made that run at Cologne. It's like when the eye test looks awesome, because you see these rounds he gets that are like amazing AWP kills, no scopes, flicks, like even can win some clutches. But the problem is, if you only saw the highlights, if you were only scrolling on certain websites and you saw like the highlight thing, you'd think he was a lot better than he was. But if you saw him every single round, the problem is the rounds that he doesn't do those highlights in, there's weird misplays, or like sometimes he doesn't connect up with what the team's trying to do.
But the vetoes are going to be a huge part here. This is a best of one again, so every little bit counts. We've seen TYLOO lose to the likes of Renegades and Mirage, and on Ints on Inferno, finding success on Hellraisers on Overpass, but not a whole lot of success over there in
The
likes
problem
of Big.
here is I have seen Big a number of times now lose just purely in best of ones by outthinking themselves. So I want to see them just go the safe route here. Just go to the map you should be getting. So at this point in time, they have the option, actually, TYLOO.
Dust
Are we
2
going to
and
play
Cache.
Dust 2
It's
or
gonna be
Cache?
Cache.
Surely Cache, which I think, by the
Yeah.
way, Big's already played this Veto very well because those are two of the maps they really love. I think they would love it to be Cache. I think that's a map
Yeah.
they'd absolutely thrive on. If I'm TYLOO, I'd rather go Dust 2. I'd rather make it a bit dodgy, you know.
There we go. I think that both maps obviously can be relatively T-sided, right? We know that the pacing on these kind of maps can have a lot to do with how they unfold, and you need to, especially on a map like Cache, in my opinion, you need to make sure that you're getting the utility up to corner off the bomb sites early against a team like TYLOO, who are more than happy to play aggressive. If you don't have the smokes and molotovs to block the choke points, you're going to find yourself under a lot of danger early. Wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, we mentioned this storyline yesterday when they played Complexity, because Complexity also didn't mind it going to Cache, but one of the factors is if you go back, you will find a lot of vetoes of Cache against Big. Like, this is a team that people know play it, they know in practice they play it, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. On the other side of the equation, this is not a lineup of good teams that they're beating there on the TYLOO side, so I think that's a little bit overinflated. Like, you can't let the 100% show you anything there.
I think the confidence factor, though, that this is in the, I would consider a top 3 map for TYLOO going into this. They're happy as well with the vetoes.
They liked,
yeah. There's a couple of factors that I look towards TYLOO, especially for their CT sides, is the impact that somebody can have, right? That guy's very aggressive and very disruptive, especially around executes. So that's one of the win conditions. For me, earlier in the tournament, he didn't have those impacts. So I think he needs to come online here if they want to rattle Big, because we know Big are going to have more structure. We know that they use their utility really well, and we know that they like to head over to Loot Bet, Trace.
Yes, LootBet, the betting partner of StarSeries Season 6. And what do we know about LootBet, Duncan?
Well, it did say on the screen something like you get up to €50. I'm assuming some sort of bonus or
with the
extra
code
amount. Yeah, if you put the code in, I assume, right?
You got to have that code. But again, you also want to remember to gamble responsibly. Head over to www.responsiblegambling.org and make sure you know what's going on in your own life. Isn't that right, Chad?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of hotlines for that kind of stuff, and gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly. Also use Twitch chat responsibly, where in which you need to be voting right now for the team that you think is going to win. Use hashtag TYLOO, hashtag Big, or hashtag Chad the Spud Burchill, if you can spell all that.
It's a long hashtag.
Yeah, that's probably why it never really took off, I assume.
The player I think in this series that could be the difference maker, that can give TYLOO a chance to win, is going to be Excurate, because I've seen, like, this is a map where you get in a lot of post-plant scenarios, and he is actually a really underrated clutch round player. Like, somehow he has a really good knack for it. Then you add in, obviously he's a very versatile AWPer. That can be another game changer, because you don't typically think of TYLOO as a great AWP team. You think of them with a lot of like low econ rounds, rushing in with AKs. It is like people like somebody on the T side, Bentet with his rifle. But that's the thing. Excurate isn't by any means like a world's best player. I don't think he's even close to the best player in the Asian region. But he's just got such a versatile skill set. He can win you the game in so many different areas. He's quite a unique player in that sense.
Let's do something a little bit different here. Let's open the forum. I know that we're going to be waiting to get into a knife round. Should be happening any second. But, Chad, I just feel that on the edge of your mouth, is something about this update. You're ready to just say and speak your mind.
No, I need a bit more time to digest it. I want to see
We haven't even knife round yet.
I'm talking about the update. I want to digest it a bit more, because I was thinking about it more and more, and when we spew narratives and when the community says things and when players say things and we at Analyst Desk say things,
you know, hot takes.
Eventually,
we all have the initial impression.
Eventually, what we do when we don't decompile it properly is give the wrong impression or tell the story incorrectly, and then we are the ones to blame when changes happen and they're not favorable. Now, this one we have to wait and see if it's good or bad. I just want to wait and see a little bit more and maybe mull over my thoughts a little bit more before I really get stuck into to the thought process.
Or you rant it up, end up on the top of Reddit. God knows how bad that goes.
No,
right?
because like, look, when we say something all the time, when we sit here and we say this is random or this is overpowered or this, and we don't actually discover and discuss why, we're not doing ourselves or anybody justice. Valve want to help us. We just need to make sure that we can explain ourselves correctly for them to be able to do so.
Duncan, you got anything to add on top of the Passionates?
One thing I would say is that, like, I'll give credit to Riot Games here for League of Legends, right? Because believe it or not, even though it's a very contentious game, some people think it isn't balanced well or designed well. If you actually do go and look on Reddit there, they have people who are the game designers who will actually come on Reddit and they'll, like, engage with people and they'll give the reason as to why they made a change or what philosophy they were going for. Now, listen, you might not agree with it in that scenario. In fact, you might even sometimes think it was a stupid idea or I think you've just done it wrong there. But somehow, when you know someone's reason behind it, at least you can kind of see what they were going for there. And you can then you can actually test it. You can see, did what you aimed to do work out that way? Whereas one of the things I think has always been the frustration with Valve is that they're just off in some shadowy realm. And then all of a sudden we get an update or we get a change and you never quite know what spurred this. Like, what were you trying to go for here? What do you think? Like, because the thing is, maybe they explain a plan and something they've thought out really in depth, because obviously they've had a lot more time than us to think about it, that actually has a logic to it. And I'd go, okay, hey, we'll wait and see on this. The problem is when you do the hot take, which fair enough, by the way, it is just, that's what Twitter's for. It's fun. You have your opinions initially before you've gotten fully informed. The problem is those are always going to be so extreme, you know. They're always going to just go so hard and like something's great or something's terrible. And so I do think it'll probably be one of the two in this case because it's a very extreme change, but there's obviously a possibility it could be good.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. I think that is the storyline, and well, if any storylines have told us anything, this has all come from Don Hassey, so it's all his fault. We can point it right at him.
The thing is, though, this is a game where I actually think the team that has it all to play for here is TYLOO, because if Big loses this game, it is categorically a terrible period for this team. I think you could even see them head into roster changes pretty soon. TYLOO, it's pretty lucid. It doesn't really matter if they win, if they lose. They're not even through even if they win the game. I think for them, they should have no pressure whatsoever on them.
Both teams guaranteed a spot in the next major, right? At least in certain portions of it. Big by making the top 8 are guaranteed to be in the.
Oh wait, that's changed as well. TYLOO isn't in the top 8.
No, they are. TYLOO are. They'll be in the what's the first? No, they'll be in the what's the first stage called?
Challenger.
Wasn't that what changed?
No, because they won. They went through the top 16, so they're definitely in the Challenger.
No, they just did a recent change to how they're going to do
That's
it
for Renegades.
Oh, that's only
that's
for them.
because
Okay,
Renegades didn't win a game.
Right,
they
I
didn't win a game.
understand.
So TYLOO actually made it to the top 16, so they get a chance to play in the Challenger before going to the Legends, which then goes to the Champions.
Well, we do have a few Legends in the server. We also do have very much challengers on both sides. So let's talk about predictions and get right into this one swiftly. Chad, let's start with you.
Look, I think on the graphic I predicted Big, and I'm gonna change my mind. I'm actually gonna go with TYLOO on this one. I think they have less to lose, and they're gonna play that way. I think they're gonna be mentally unburdened by this game, whereas I think there's a lot more pressure on Big, at least from the outside.
Okay, what do you got, Duncan?
I actually can't remember. I think I probably picked TYLOO because I think I picked them for every match here. Because that's the thing about them as a team. Like they can beat teams better than them. They can also lose to teams much worse. So I will say on this one, I like the consistency of Big, but I'm also a bit of a Big hater. So I'll just pick TYLOO for this one. Let's go. Let's roll the dice. Come on, Excrete. Let's go, boy.
Like a game of craps, Duncan is there. Let's go ahead and also go the way of TYLOO, just because. Why not? I think you guys make a very valid point with them having nothing to lose in this sense. And, well, for what it's worth, we do know them to come out with surprises, tricks and tips, rather. Let's go ahead and get into the game, though. It's going to be a little bit of Harriet and Halvor. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for that one, Trace.
That's a blast from the past right there.
Yeah, that is a blast. It's been a while since he dropped the big H bomb, the Harriet as it were. But yeah, Big v TYLOO. How are you feeling about this one? I think there's a lot of pressure on this big team, and I do kind of agree with the guys over on the desk in the sense that TYLOO maybe they don't have as much, so that could give them an edge here on cash.
Yeah, I mean, there's much more to defend on the side of Big, right? I mean, they get a top 8 at the major, then it's all about how you're able to do after that. We've already seen Complexity having issues coming to terms with that in sense, not having the best go of it here. And the same can be said for Big, right? You want to make sure that you basically telegraph to everyone who's doubting you that, that top 8 was not a fluke. It's something that we can do consistently. We can do it at multiple tournaments. And Big, they don't have the best track record of doing so. I mean, we saw them at Cologne, obviously having a brilliant performance there. And then it went quiet for quite some time. They come back to the major, again, surprises after a bit of a shaky actually was it the Legend stage, right? Before bringing it back and qualifying for the playoffs. And now, they're kind of falling into the same trap. They could potentially go out here in Starladder not making the playoffs, and that obviously would be quite the disappointment. And yeah, as you said, for TYLOO, they I guess hit a new personal best at the major, finally making a top 16, not just being, I guess, repeat champions of the Asian minor together with the Renegades all the time. They're going to actually get to skip that step. For them, it's all about, just continuing that good trend of gradually improving, which we've seen throughout the course of the year. So for them, they can play pretty fast and loose. I also think they've been remarkably lucky with a lot of the map vetoes here so far at this event, because that's what really showed as one of their weaknesses during the major, right? Like, they could only play 3 maps. That was it. If you got them on any of the other 3 maps, you would have an excellent chance to beat TYLOO. If you didn't, it would be a really rough game. And somehow they've managed to land on one of those 3 this time around again.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty good at that, you know, and I think a lot of teams are quite willing, I think, you know, whenever they look at TYLOO, just to be like, yeah, we can face them on their best maps, you know, it's only TYLOO at the end of the day. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, actually, these guys are pretty good. You know, like, one for me is, you know, we always end up seeing, like, some, like, TYLOO phase on Mirage, and then it's like, oh, look, TYLOO have actually done surprisingly well here, and it's like, how's this happened? But we're about to get into this one, Halvor. Of course, it's all on the line. These guys currently sitting at that 1-2 record, and the loser will be eliminated, leaving StarSeries, which, you know, for either one of these 2 teams is a pretty devastating spot to be in, but I think definitely more so over on the side of Big. There's a lot of pressure on them. These guys, actually, their practice room is right outside of my hotel room. They were up all night. I know that because they kept me awake all night. So they've been practicing and getting ready for this one. Big going to be sending players over here towards this bomb site. Excurate and somebody here. Excurate. Boost him up. Somebody over at Quad, but Big yet to push on in.
I think it's a big deal for Excurate to get off to a good start here. He hasn't had the tournament we've become accustomed to seeing him have. He's obviously a very integral part of this TYLOO team.
Ooh, somebody going to get pushed on into. That's next to find it. Now, Excurate inside of this bomb site, desperately trying to claw something back here. And you mentioned he needs to get off to a good start. He's already found 2. Oh my goodness, a 3rd as well. And now it is just, I was going to say man advantage up in favor of TYLOO, but suddenly Gobby and Tabson, they've pulled this back. They've made this round possible here for the big boys. The bomb's going to go down, and it's DD and Bentet left in the retake.
Tabson digs at Bentet as well. Both players significantly lowered on in their HP. DD's going to go down to Gob, and Bentet might have had a hope of winning this, but it's going to get really tough. No defuse kit either in his hands. And Gob executes him to make sure Big get off to a good start. A much needed side start as well. We know that T side can be really what sets people apart. I mean, most teams favor that T side on a map like Cache. Can really have monumentous halves on it. That's what we need to see. So all of Excurate's hard work doesn't really pan out. Really curious to see the thought process behind what Captain Mo does in that scenario. I mean, not really in a position to actually trade on what goes on with Excurate, is left alone, open, not really playing with any of his teammates as well. Kind of just gives away a man advantage, which allows for Big to get into it, even before planting the bomb. So that was a bit silly. Nonetheless, though, we're going to see a bit of an investment on the side of TYLOO. I guess it is worth pointing out that we are playing on the patch that came last night. Obviously, that's going to be a hot topic for discussion, but the economic changes have not been implemented into the game. But changes to the ZZ, the Tech 9, the AUG, the Krieg. That's
the Krieg is the exciting one for me.
Yeah, all of that's supposed to be in there. Yeah, I mean, we saw a fair bit of Krieg lovers on Twitter yesterday. Magisk, MBK, those guys being pretty happy about it. So Elise as well was really revving to go. So we might see some of the teams before. We haven't really seen it so far amongst the teams that are here. I guess the familiarity with an AK, with the Colt, is too far ingrained at this moment, at least, for them to potentially risk their tournament life off of, just trying something new, trying the potential flavor of the month. Yeah,
I mean, I'm excited to see how the update does influence the professional play, right? At the top end of things.
Absolutely.
And maybe in.
It could end up in a situation. I mean, on paper, the Krieg, for instance, is better than an AK in every single instance. Now it's what, $50 more. So you can't necessarily use the economic downside of it, I guess, where you couldn't afford, an extra smoke or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, somebody really loves to buy that one decoy grenade, as we see so many people in matchmaking often do.
Yeah, please stop doing that.
It's just $50 that you don't need to spend.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a time I've ever been like, you know what, mate, I'm really glad that I had that decoy because, without it, I don't think we would have won this round.
Yeah.
So, decoy fans out there, maybe we'll get one of them. Maybe we'll get a buff to decoy grenades next update. Maybe
they have actually buffed it not too long ago because obviously at the start of it, the decoy was literally the most useless thing in the world because the second you would plop it down, it would show up on both teams' radar. and it would be so out of place. The rhythm to how they were shooting didn't make sense. So obviously, it's very evident that it's going to be a decoy. This time around, it doesn't actually show up on the radar of your enemy. So now you're only getting the sound cues. I still say that like you could use some work with how actually it shoots or how it makes noise, but you know, one step at a time.
Well, taking a look at this buy from TYLOO, they're certainly not a fan of decoys. These guys want the firepower. They've gone for the double AWPs on Excurate and Captain Mo. And Captain Mo to be sitting with his down here in checkers. Now the issue is Smooya's there and he's playing chess. He's been run boosted across. Doesn't quite spot out secondary AWP for TYLOO just yet. But
he might actually run into, he might run into Captain Mo as he falls back.
Never mind, Smooya going to be having the wider angle, does get that peek on in and does best Captain Mo in that fight. So that's one of those two AWPs taken down very early on here for TYLOO. Big now going to be focusing their attention over here towards middle. Gob sneaking on out, does get found by Bentet, and now in the meantime, somebody's gone aggressive in here towards main. He could find the bomb. Currently on the back of Tabson, falling back from Squeaky. He's going to hear these footsteps as well, and you can see the effect this man has had. This is absolutely massive for TYLOO. Everyone rotating into that B bomb site. 40 seconds left. Big going to be walking into a stack as well.
And now he's going to be patient enough to actually wait to go for a bit of a lurk here to allow Next to go past as well. He's in a prime position here if he gets moving. All of Big gathered around that B bomb site. 3 players from TYLOO already at the site.
Right in for him. A couple of missed shots. Next going to be able to go ahead and retrieve that kill. And now it is just Excurate and somebody 2v3 flashes up into heaven. Going to go ahead and hold back the AWP for TYLOO. And as they find somebody on this wrap round, it was looking like it was going to be such a good round for TYLOO, and it's all been stripped away on the back of Nex and Smooya. DD maybe dropping the ball a bit there as well inside of the bomb site. The flashes that rained in from TYLOO were actually quite perfect. You know, the synergy there between the guys in the bomb site was looking good. Everyone kind of lining up for DD, but he just falls short at the very end. So a 4-0 start here for Big. I'm excited because, you know, you haven't really seen too much of Big on Cash apart from as of late. But for me, it always felt like a very German map. You know, if you were ever to watch ESL Meisterschaft, if you think back like a year ago or something like that, I mean, the German leagues that they have. I think I remember like one of the times that I was casting that it was like 78 or 80% of the maps were Cash, and it's like, how has this even happened? You know, like they just love a bit of Cash to the Germans.
To be fair, I guess Inferno wasn't in the map pool at the time, was it?
Yeah.
So Cash did become a staple map really for any team for quite a significant amount of time. But has had a bit of a fallout. And yeah, in addition to what you mentioned, yeah, DD probably could have done more in that situation, but Nex was doing a great job actually finding an opening onto Bentet, who didn't have head armor in that round, which allowed for that B defense to weaken significantly. Here we go. Tempo's being set up by Big. Already throwing in Molotovs. Smooya with the first pick onto DD. Tijian finds Mo. That's the entire B bomb set at their disposal. Not really a whole lot you can hope to do here if you're TYLOO. And maybe set up a bit of a human shield operation around Excurate in order to hold on to that AWP as they move forward. But Big are probably going to be looking to hunt here. I mean, Gob has a Mac 10, no reason for him to hold on to that necessarily going further. And as you can see, Nex, Tabs, and pretty healthy in terms of money, both nearing that 10K mark.
This is a fantastic start here for Big. TYLOO not exactly off to the most wild of starts just yet, but we still really have yet to see much on the board from players like Bentet, for example. Usually he is the man that we look to step up in this team. And, you know, over on the side of Big right now, it's been pretty clinical as well. They're looking to keep 5 alive in this round. You can see them hunting. They want to try and take this AWP away. You understand why Gombi is going to go ahead and take a peek on it. They spot the AWP out as well, but it doesn't look like they're going to get there in time as Excurate does batten down the hatches and manage to hold on to it. So a 5-0 start here for Big. The AWP carried forward, though, does mean that TYLOO are going to have that to work with into this coming round.
And they could potentially force around this as well. Looking at how much money they have saved up. Have to consider the fact that that loss bonus is building up too. So it's going to be a decent enough buy. Mo is actually going to go back to that AWP. Didn't win out the duel versus Smooya towards B at the start of things, but We'll see if that can actually change itself up. I did like the approach from Big, though. Kind of realizing if you don't have the perfect spawn towards B, then yeah, you might want to set up with some nades, actually use the run boost to get Smoothie into position, and that definitely helped him out in getting into a favorable spot versus Mo. That's what you want to see out of God B teams. Oh, execute. Is he going to spot the gun barrel? I think he did, yeah. He must have, surely.
So it's not like that's the most common boost in the world over the top of that smoke, so doesn't lead to anything just yet. Tizian making a little bit of noise over here. Maybe a bit more than noise as he catches some bullets from somebody. He is going to go ahead. Maybe get a bit overzealous there. TYLOO. First time in a long time we've seen them look so good, and now somebody flashed in towards Vayne.
Needs to be careful here. Can't get too aggressive. So it's going to be Benta to fall as somebody makes his way back into the site. There we go. Tapson doing a great job here, equalizing things. Execute is still alive behind the smoke.
Tapson pushing on in. Suddenly going to find himself thrust into a 1v3, and Captain Mo swings out wide to deal with him. So it was looking like Big had well and truly made their way back into that round, but TYLOO just going to go ahead and overwhelm the bomb site. They move everybody in, keeping that pressure on Big, never really catching a break. The second those smokes fade, TYLOO already there, they're already up in their faces, and they do manage to lock in at that round on the back of it.
Yeah, difference from that round and what we saw in the pistol is the fact that everyone was doing it by committee, right? Like everyone was going in together. No real hesitation about it. Pistol round, it was only Captain Mo deciding to be the hero, or at least trying to help out his teammates. Starting to come together for TYLOO. So another buy, both ops held on to as well. As much of a bank as Big has, it does cost to buy up ops repeatedly. Tizian and Smoothie feeling the pain of that. Though even still, Big should be able to buy up in after a potentially lost round regardless.
It's going to be another play in towards the same bomb side by the looks of things, but you have Bentet and Excura over here on highway to worry about. You can already see DD as well starting to pull off of B, but this is not the read. Big already going to go ahead and start to back away, turning their attention over towards middle.
Question is whether or not Gabi is going to push out on this, or if he's just going to be here to pull off rotations if they end up going towards B. But they're actually going to boost the second player up too. So Excurate might be in for some action here pretty soon. And Big, yeah, as you mentioned, that initial idea of A seems to be more and more likely as time starts to run down.
Yeah, going back to when they found a decent bit of success in the past. They were denied this site in the previous, but now they look to try and crack the case once again. You have to worry about Excura over here on highway. Somebody, that's the bomb drop. Now Smoothie is going to be able to go ahead and trade things back. It's next from the highway to drop the AWP for TYLOO, but Bentet over here on quad. Uncharacteristic missed to kickstart that, but he's going to go ahead and chain together a second, locking in that round for TYLOO. That's going to be finding their second round, but it's a little bit worrying. I think Bentet missing a few shots here and there. He's normally the guy that kind of has these amazing performances out the gate.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they need to have a bit of a warm up to get into it, but I guess in the end, nothing bad comes out of it. He's able to readjust. Finally down Tizian and follow it up with the second frag. So all good for now. They also managed to hold on to that second op. DD picks it up right before the next round starts. Now you can see the impact it's had on Big as well. Whoa, somebody absolutely insane, but well, that's sometimes that is what he does. It's gonna give away the opening to Big though. I was about to say, like that bank we talked about, that's completely gone. This is potentially Big looking at having to go back to an eco. Instead, TYLOO having to play from the back here. Excurate. A bit of an off angle, actually. Yeah, no cover from the car. Not really sure what there is to benefit from that angle. Gets dealt with pretty easily, at least, with nowhere to hide. And Bentet finds Smoothie, but A bomb site is already lost, and you can already tell that rotations are not going to be in early. So forward positioning is being held by Big.
Yeah, and even then, keep your eye on God B. He's in a very, very good position to start to deal with some of these players down in mid. TYLOO backing away, already made the call to save, and even then, Tabson Going to find DD up in the vents, so not going to let them get away with much out of this round. Big locking in at their 6th. Okay. Bentet does at least find tabs. But yeah, I mean, Excurate, you know, maybe getting a bit caught out there, holding that wide angle. Second, he misses that shot.
It did feel a bit odd, though. Like, I don't see what the positive you're getting out of standing in a position like that. I mean, sure, it might be a bit of a strange angle for Tabson to get into, but he's kind of already pre-aiming in that vicinity, right? So it's not like a massive task for him to actually do anything. And in any case, I mean, you're just setting yourself up in a much more vulnerable spot to get traded. So yeah, you might get the first duel off versus Tabson, but if one of the big players comes in right after to deal with you, then you've still done not a whole lot. It's much better to play from a safer spot, potentially get that 1 kill onto Tabson, and being able to hold on to yourself and set up for a retake with your teammates. So not ideal by any means. But they do at least manage to hold on to the op on Captain Mo. And I love this. Captain Mo has 1 frag to his name, but he has done 0.1 ADR. That's obviously because like it caps out at 100 damage, per person. So
yeah.
if somebody has been tagged down to,
That's
1
pretty wild.
HP.
Yeah. I've never seen 0.1 ADR before, but he's a big contributor as Captain Mo, looking to try and make a name for himself here.
He needs to get into the thick of things. He hasn't had the best of events.
Yeah, the worrying thing is he's the man donning that secondary AWP right now, so maybe 0.1 ADR isn't where you quite want your AWP to be. Here's Excurate though. This is where you might want your AWP to be, as he chains together that first kill. Bentet, gonna get knifed down by Tizian, so that is him falling over at the forklift. Now, Tizian's going to get mollied out by his teammate, and somebody's wrapped around from behind. This now means Tizian gets caught out in the open here. Smooya sacrificing his teammate to the Wolves, and then DD going to go ahead and finish things off. TYLOO.
Is that the UK-German relationship being showing its roots again?
Yeah, it's
you do have a history.
Yeah, I mean, quite the history, I guess. Also, yeah.
But that's probably just communication issues, right? Like, you would have to imagine. I can't see anything other reason for Smooya wanting to throw it at Molly, because it comes in late as well. That's the thing, right? Like, Tizian's already knifed him. He's been dead for a while, and then the Molotov comes in. So I'm not really sure what the idea is. Unless it's some next-level preemptive plan to have nobody from TYLOO pushing in on Tizian, I guess, when he's holding right side of truck.
Maybe you try to go for one of the cheeky peeks over like the incandescence of the
Molotov.
Yeah,
with the smoke on the
Molotov.
Molotov.
Tizian was kind of actually taking the peek into it, so maybe. But
it's pretty next level.
Yeah, I mean, you think, like if ever there was a team to kind of like try and play around with stuff like that, I feel like it would be these big guys. They love just like discovering like all of these filthy tricks. It's got to be and his magic bag of them. But
that's true. We might see actually that come out now, opening the door inwards.
And I tell you what, for TYLOO, there's only one man here. It's Bentet. This is exactly who you would want in this position. He's got players all around. Yeah, Famas isn't the weapon of choice. Certainly not. Players don't really have head armor. Saying that, Bentet doesn't even have any life left in his bones, so he's going to go down. Tizian open things up. The bomb goes down here for Big. And in a 5v4 with bomb planted, they are looking good in spite of only having these 2 AKs.
One of the easiest ATEX they've had in a good while. See though, TYLOO was set up in a way that seems to be they're perfectly happy going for a retake, and well, they find 2 initially. Somebody's been tagged down low, but still everything going the way. Smooya though, can he actually get the drop on the diffuser? He does as well.
Smooya? Oh my God, Smooya! What are you doing, you sneaky man? Big gonna be locking themselves in a 7th round. Even Tabson just turns around like, what was that?
What are you doing?
How did we manage this? How has he gone and done it? Smooya's going to be feeling good on the back of that. That was absolutely unreal. You look at him. He's been practicing his parkour as Smooya.
I absolutely love that. I mean, considering affectionately named the Rat King by parts of the community.
Yeah.
The fact that you can see on the overview, he sneaks on top of the rafters, just walks his merry way, just past everyone. Nobody really pays any attention to what's going on over there. Gets the jump down on T-Red, and not only, of course, just being able to land those shots immediately. Has a P250. The majority of the TYLOO player or the TYLOO team has head armor as well, so he needs 2 connections as well to make that work per player. That was super well done and so important for Big as well. I mean, yeah, they're in the lead, but there's no doubt that TYLOO had been in the driving seat for a little while there. They were starting to ramp up some rounds, and well, now it's a much tougher task ahead of them. Not really going to have enough money to warrant any sort of investment. And for Big, they're going to get a bit of a cushion here to work out what they want to do. I mean, getting 8 rounds this early on as well on your T side is not a bad feeling.
Yeah, they've been very, very good at resetting TYLOO, you know, not letting them chain together too much and start to build anything up here on their CT side. Here's Tizian charging in towards B. There's Tizian getting wrecked by DD. There's God B team killing next as well. So it's been a real roller coaster of emotions this round for Big. Really not how they envision this going down. And God B going to try and make up for that team kill as he does the dispatch of DD and a second. He's looking to try and, you know, mend some bridges.
Yeah, Mo doesn't seem too comfortable with the new change to the ZZ. That was just...
Yeah, I can't imagine I'd be too comfortable just showing up on the day of the elimination game with the weapons changing, but...
I think the CZ change, although it makes it weaker for the general public, I guess, it could just remain. I mean, once players get used to it, it could just remain in the same kind of vein as it is now, a very, very strong pistol. But I do think it's going to require a lot more skill to use at this point, which is a good thing. Because that thing was very forgiving, regardless of what you were doing, pretty much.
And that was always the thing I didn't like about it. It always really cheapened whenever there was like a sick play with the CZ, because it's just like...
He held down mouse 1 and ran
yeah,
forward.
exactly, right? It's like, you know, you're watching someone like kill some guy with the P90 just running at him. It's like, oh, it's not. But the P90 is terrible is the difference, you know? Like the CZ is just a better P90 that's way cheaper as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean... I'm a big fan, you know. If you can balance the CZ, make it kind of so it also just feels more impressive. I'd love the sound to change as well. It just doesn't even sound like a good gun, does it? It's like if you got, I don't know,
a little bit of a hardcore pea shooter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like it's a little bit more meaty than some of the guns in the game, but like still pretty like weak sounding. Still kind of sounds like a stapler or something like that, like over and over
Aggressive
again.
stapler.
Aggressive stapler. It's like an auto-generated Steam name or something, you know. But yeah.
No, it's like you know how everything just sounds more like rough when you put industrial in front of it, right? Like you have glue and then you have industrial glue, but this is like an industrial pistol. Or I guess it's an industrial stapler. That's the sound you're getting.
Yeah, and you know that is what it feels like at times. But you know, it's like for me, it's always you compare someone like gets like a 1v4 with a deagle, and it's like oh, you know,
yeah,
like,
that's a
hear
moment to remember. Yeah,
exactly. And then like a 1v4 with a CZ, you're kind of like oh well.
Oh, those happened.
Yeah, right. But here we go. Speaking of 1v X scenarios with pistols, Smooya in that previous round. I don't even know how he did it, but what a confidence booster for that man as well. And that's going to be kind of a scary thing to deal with. Now, Execute donning the AWP once again for TYLOO, has that out. So we're going to get to see that duel between him and Papa Smooth.
Smooth's definitely been leading the charge here for Big together with Tabson. I mean, it does feel like it's those two profiles who really need to shine for Big to find consistent success as well. This is a big round for TYLOO, though. They need to swing things around here on the CT side. Even though they are stronger on their T side, obviously they want a bit of a cushion. If they can make it to 5-6 rounds, they can be pretty okay with the turnout. Make control given up for free. Well, there's a gap in that smoke. Is that gonna go on that? Yeah, he is. Finds Tabson. It's a big notch to his belt. And also remove any sort of forward presence that Big had in mid. Might have to send out scout number 2. Smooya's on top of the roof. Oh, the timing is going to be dreadful for him. Bentet gets the drop. Might even find Gabi as well. Oh, even though Tizian is able to find a bit of a reply. That's a 2-man advantage for TYLOO.
Yeah, and I mean, look at somebody over in the back line. That's the number 5 on your mini-map. He's all the way in T-Sport. He's having an identity crisis. He's joining the opposite side. But next going to go ahead and pick that frag up. Now 1v3, and this maybe is possible. The real issue is going to come in the form of somebody as he's over in main right now. You don't imagine Nex is going to have the perfect read. There's only 20 seconds as well. Pretty much everything is stacked against him here as he starts to try and secure this A-bomb site. Does manage to catch a pretty good timing as DD just misses that peek onto him. So tapping on the bomb. somebody going to go down. 5 seconds. Next trying to plant in the smoke, and he's going to get the bomb down. So now this becomes a possible round for Big. Luckily enough, DD, the man to go ahead and dig TYLOO out of that hole that they were kind of finding themselves in this round, does manage to secure the 4th for TYLOO. He saves the AWP as well. He's been the hero that they deserve.
It's just like they're looking for a second one as well. So they're going back to that double top setup. And all together, pretty okay round for TYLOO, considering they managed to salvage an extra AWP. Well, you probably could have seen Execute, for instance, not necessarily going for that second frag after he finds the first pick in mid. Just try to limit their losses as much as possible. Max doing a really good job, though, of making this a rather contested round. Also getting a bomb plant as well, which secures a better buy for Big. That's much needed as well when you consider the fact that Tijian is rocking a Deagle. Does have plenty of utility, but probably would have liked to seen a little bit more oomph to his weapon. Spirit might get boosted up here. Actually, no, it's probably going to be somebody to get boosted up. Makes way more sense considering he has the Colt. Question is, though, if they're going to be expecting this, the boost over here from the smoke, is that actually going to spot Execute as he moves back? Yeah, they will. Smoke fades as well, and that's the easiest opening frag Smooya has had all game. Now it's on somebody. Needs to find a multi-kill here, or at least stay alive for quite some time. Starts up with 1. No real follow-up here either. Oof! Drops down one flash. And that means Big are going to find the openings they need to get onto that A bomb site. Captain Mo just left wondering where he got shot from. And all of a sudden, it's DD by his lonesome. Finds Smooya. Oh, actually, quick follow-up onto Nex as well, so 1v2. This is definitely doable.
Yeah, DD. He was the hero in that previous round for TYLOO. Now he's got to try and stand and deliver once again. Got B, though, homing in his sights on Highway. Who's ahead and annihilates that man on the peak. So now up 9-4. Real issue is for me right now is Captain Mo. I mean, even if you think back to the games yesterday for TYLOO, he actually was the guy topping the charts. And, you know, like, that's not normally what we expect to see from him. I'm not expecting, like, an all-star performance from Captain Mo right now, but certainly more than the 17 ADR that we see him have right now.
Yeah.
What, 14 rounds into the game? I think he only broke past 0.1 ADR into round 10. That was when we finally saw that turn around. You know, I don't like to put it all on one man, but... you know, certainly he's an important piece of the puzzle, especially when you consider he's been occupying that secondary AWP. So it's a very, very expensive investment to be throwing onto someone who isn't actually giving you any results.
Yeah, that is very key. And I guess, yeah, you can make the case that he hasn't seen too much action. Tabson domes the head of somebody. He hasn't seen too much action over towards B, mainly because Big have opted to venture towards other spots. And that's fair enough. But, you know, again, you need to make something happen on your retakes. Like when you're actually grouped up with 1 to 2 of your teammates actually trying to grind rounds back, you need to be able to hit your shots. If not even hit your shots necessarily that well, at least hit some. We see Gamble Stack coming in from the side of TYLOO. They only have pistols to their name, so you can understand why they want to get stacked up together. Have the power in numbers. So they obviously won't have any utility or weaponry. Besides that B is not for them anymore. They like pointy letters.
I'm a big fan of this little overlay as well, you know. I think Starladder actually have quite a few very, very decent ones.
Tricks up their sleeves here.
Yeah. They've pulling out more tricks than this big T side. You know, we've seen a few little creative things like the boost over in main. I've been a big fan of that. It's netted in that man advantage in the rounds prior. This should just be a cleanup, by the way. It's kind of where we're just sort of, you know, minding our own business, letting this round play out. Big looking like they're going to be picking up 10. Will be Tabson securing 4 kills. That's going to be a real problem here for TYLOO. And this is why, you know, having someone like Captain Mo fall silent now is something really worth talking about, because you look over at Big, you've got Smooya and Tabson, they're kind of your usual suspects. Nex is there as well. He's normally someone who's very, very consistent. And it's not like Godby and Tizian have been quiet by any stretch of the imagination. Just, you know, you have 3 guys really kind of bringing it up at the front. And then for TYLOO, we have Execute, DD, and Buntet, 3 players, you know, I mean, well, you know, we normally look to Buntet and Execute, so the fact that DD's there is fantastic. It feels like if we just had Captain Mo showing up as well, then this could be
very competitive.
Yeah, and here's something. He's been left over here towards B solo with that AWP, opting to give it to Captain Mo instead of keeping it on Execute.
That is very odd. I guess it might, again, might be a case of, well, Mo feels like he's not hitting anything at all, so if he first makes a connection, he needs to make sure whoever he shoots at goes down.
Well, let's see if he can do exactly that. Captain Mo. There's that first kill from him. Still more players coming his way. They put a lot of faith on someone who has been struggling thus far with this AWP, and it's the first time we've really seen him tested inside of this B bomb site, mollied out and forced off the angle. There is a man wrapping onto the headshot position. That's going to be GOB. Goes dispatch of Captain Mo. Excurate goes barreling through the smoke, and we're left in the 1v1. Somebody going to find them both, and TYLOO able to dig deep and find a 5th round there at the end of this first half. 10-5. Halvor, Big still looking good here as we head into what will be their CT side half.
Yeah, they definitely do. And for TYLOO, they in some ways managed to salvage that first half with getting that 5th round. Does give them a bit of a cushion even if they were to lose the pistol. Again, just reiterating the fact that they're not playing with this new economic change that we've seen Valve implement overnight. So pistols still fairly significant. We'll see how that goes as the future plays out. But yeah, still a lot of work to be done. And both Smooya and Tabson having pretty good games for themselves. That's never a good thing when you're playing against Big. Let's keep in mind as well that I guess the big success story for Big versus Complexity when they were playing this map was their CT side. That's where they grabbed 11 out of their 16 rounds. I mean, probably could have gotten some more.
I mean, this is not looking like a very positive TYLOO.
A happy bunch right there.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, you look over at Big, everyone's having a laugh. Everyone's feeling good.
Staying hydrated.
Yeah, staying hydrated. That's important. Make sure to do that. But, you know, you can see GOB is giving a rallying speech to the rest of the crew.
It's actually not typical that you see the TYLOO guys kind of hang their heads and just be out of it in that sense. I mean, we might be reading a little bit too much into it, but normally they're pretty level, and at least the kind of emotions they display, or body language, if you like.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. They are going to be not feeling too great heading into this second half. But that said, you know, pistol round win here. That could be all it takes to start to propel them back into this. Gonna have to get used to maybe that changing with this new update. But obviously, we're not working with that at this event just yet. We've actually, you know, Starladder, they've done well. They've worked their magic. Despite the fact, by the way, you know, props to them, that there's no way of them rolling this back. They're having to do some real trickery in the console to make sure that we're still playing on the. You know, with the old kind of economy rules, yeah, because I felt that would be maybe one step too far to just like throw that in there as well. Like,
that would be a complete mess for the players. I mean, you've worked with an economic system for so long, and have to have it thrown it all and unbalanced. It's going to be obviously tough to deal with. Never really having a good idea as to what's going on with your opponents, and obviously because it does allow you to do a lot different things, have quite different approaches to how you play the first couple of rounds as well. Any case, though, it's going to be good old traditional fashion, or good old-fashioned traditional pistol round up here. When our loser takes home 1,600, or no, 1,400. Jesus, already getting the numbers up in the air.
Yeah,
it's not easy, but there's 3 players over towards the B bomb site here for Big, and well, there's no clear indication that TYLOO wants to go on this initially because they do have the bomb dropped. They have posted up 3 players of their own to start off. I could group up though with the one player holding off mid. Given that we have a Molotov, 2 smokes and everything, we might see a pretty standard A execute here out of the Chinese squad. Tabson though, he's going to have something to say about that. If he finds one of the players with a lot of utility in their hands at this point, that could be massive for them. All right, bit of a boost into mid here. 3 players. Excurant is, well, yeah, got to drop the smoke for connector here. So is it going to be an A split? Curious to see where Mo actually drops that Molotov. It's just going to be behind truck.
Tabson, though, over in main, that forward position. He does have Tizzy in as well at the truck. It's a bit of a makeshift crossfire, but Tabson's found a quick double. He's going to continue pushing on in, and Tabson... not great,
I mean,
but
somebody's not paying attention to it.
Yeah, he's got ahead and just given that frag. the way of Tabson, given plenty of time to find it. Bentet and DD left up 2v4, but we've seen a couple of pistol round heroics out of these guys in the past. Can they look to relive them now? Tabson certainly thinks not. He's on for the ace. One more kill, and he's going to go ahead and grab it. That will be the ace for him in the pistol here for Big. What a way to kickstart this CT side from him. You mentioned how yesterday, you know, in that matchup versus Complexity, this was, you know, the CT side was kind of the bread and butter of things for Big. So now Tabson getting off to a great start. That's always a very, very worrying sign of the times here for TYLOO.
It's terrifying, really. Tabson's the kind of man who can win out a game all by his lonesome, really. You can see how much time he gets, though, to
I mean, this one, yeah, was like the prime example
yeah,
of that.
Yeah. The first frag as well. Honestly, initially I thought he would run into a lot more action because it looked like TYLOO would just go for a pretty standard A take through A main. Instead, Tabson does get all of his action done, you know, or the starting action done from A main as well, but not quite in the way I envisioned it. But it works either way for Big. TYLOO, they do get a bomb plant. Decide to only buy a couple of upgraded pistols, so we're most likely to see that third round buy coming in from them.
This is a messy round indeed. Oh, it's a bit of a disaster over in mid. TYLOO maybe had a way in. But, you know, no armor, no anything. They get the bomb now, so they're buying up in this round. It's going to be 12-5 for Big. They keep 5 players alive as well. They're now going to have 3 SMGs heading into this round. So, real chance for them to try and find the bonus on the back of it. They also get handed some deagles, so you've given them some long-range capabilities. They didn't have to invest in that. They get it for free. But buy coming in for TYLOO. And these guys, they need to get off to a good start here in this second half. We need to see them put this first rifle round up, start to try and, you know, put Big on the back foot because, you know, going for the bonus round here, there's still the buy here for the Big side in this following round.
And this would be quite the bonus run to win out for Big. Dijin's going to run through the smoke this time around, doesn't actually run into a body of anyone from TYLOO, so he's going to go down. He's on a tear here in mid, finds a second frag. Make that a third as well. Gabi runs into the gauntlet, and Smooya left alone over towards that B bomb site. Hasn't really seen any action at all, but understands the seriousness of the situation. He needs to try to hold on to it. Actually putting him with an M4. I'm curious if that's actually his or not. Do you know if Smooya plays with a silenced M4? I'm so used to seeing him with an op, you know? Like he's the kind of player you drop an op, right? Like if he can't afford it himself.
I mean, I don't seem to recall him using this before, because I feel like that's something you would remember, right? Like you remember the exceptions to the rules, right? Yeah, exactly.
Esperanto does it, Forrest does it, and like after that, the list kind of peters out significantly.
Well, there's like Taz as well. He does.
Yeah, that's true.
Angel does. There's a few people actually here, I guess, who do.
A few crazy persons left.
Yeah, you know.
I guess. Well, I mean, you know, a week from now, it's all going to be Augs and Kriegs. So
yeah,
it doesn't really matter anymore.
Exactly. Let's take a look at these odds, though. You know, and 1.05 to 7. That is a massive advantage right now in favor of the big boys. So clearly, the wonderful people over at LootBet, you know, having the faith in this German UK mix right now.
And TYLOO, I'm not so sold on that. I think TYLOO can still make this count. I mean, they are playing T-side of cash here.
Yeah, and you know, especially when you have Bentet and Execute right now, kind of in this fantastic form, sorry. But this man, Tabson, he is going to be someone who looks to try and cause some issues for TYLOO. He's already found the opener. He's been so good at that. Oh. Tabson, what has he done to find this form once again? He's going to go ahead and really look to try and knock this game home for Big.
Well, we can see the ZZ still works, at least, for some players. Smooya tucked away in the corner. He's going to find DD as well. And right now, TYLOO have died on 3 separate occasions with 0 trade potential as well. It's not how you want to play out these rounds, and that's not how you set yourself up for a comeback. No, it's the Indonesian duo. Try to make their way back from it. That's a good start. Benton finds Gabi, and I mean, the A-bomb side is open for now, but that's mainly because Tabson has done this kind of a rotation. He might actually find the back of Execute, and I mean, how is Execute actually going to get the bomb towards Bentout in a safe manner? Bentout still. Ooh. Gets the drop on next as well. Now the question is if anybody is expecting tabseNS to still be around 8.
Wow, it's
Or
going to be
just dodges Bentet as well as he comes around the corner.
Clash of the Titans over here towards the same bomb site. tabseNS
Surely.
versus Bentet, and Bentet reads it well, but he still ends up falling short. Execute try as he might. Cannot quite win all those fights. He does manage one, but that is it. And that will be Big. Soldiering forward onto a 13th round. tabseNS is looking just unreal right now. He's gone unhinged. Big, they do not want to go home. They're going to be looking to try and eliminate TYLOO, because let's not forget that is what's on the line here in this best of one. The loser is going home in the last day of groups here. StarSeries, the winner, will be moving into that 2-2 record and playing again later today.
Yeah. And that is an important note to add. The fact that whoever does end up in that 2-2 race, they are playing 2 games today. They'll get 24 hours to potentially prepare for their opponents or something to that effect. It's going to be much more hectic than that. Well, hectic, that's probably how the feeling in the TYLOO team is right now. tabseNS, once again aggressive in towards A main. He might find Captain Mo, and well, if Captain Mo wasn't having a bad day already, it's definitely getting there. tabseNS having the complete opposite. Finds Execute as well. And every single time, the common denominator here is TYLOO don't have people in positions to trade for them at any given point in time. They were doing a pretty decent job of that, you know, yesterday versus Renegades, even though that didn't end with a win. But this is just a very flat version of TYLOO. Somebody's finally going to win out a duel, but you're still looking at a 2v4 here. What can you really hope to accomplish?
And I mean, you know, one of the things is, you know, with this TYLOO score, one of the reasons that they are so kind of dangerous is that they have like the aim and you know, the team play. Maybe it was tactically where they were sort of lacking, you know, for the longest time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that made it so dangerous is they frequently just kind of run all 5 guys into a bomb site, and you know, as a result, it was quite tricky to deal with. You know, like you were never really sure how they were going to play something out like that. But these have been a lot of, I agree, you know, like these one-on-one engagements. No one set up to trade with each other. DD and somebody, they're going to be playing off of each other reasonably well right now. But you can even see DD's been forced to be the man to try and open this round up. Now has somebody in tow, and there's the trade or the equalizer, not the equalizer, but you know, something back for TYLOO. Yeah, I mean, making the best out of a bad situation. A 14th round on the board for Big regardless, and no money left for TYLOO as that scoreline reaches 14-6. This is the most brutal time a reset can come in.
I mean, if you're TYLOO at this point, I mean, you've already put yourself in such a bad situation that there's very small of a chance of you actually winning out with a force buy here. So let Big get to match point and hope you play pretty much a perfect T-half from that point on. That's pretty much what you have to go with. It's not a fun place to be in. May goes out. Doesn't do any damage whatsoever though to the TYLOO boys, but tabseNS again is just kind of having free reign in this A main area. I haven't met anyone from TYLOO that's been able to best him, at least not until he's pretty much removed the majority of their team. Again though, for the low investment on the side of TYLOO, they are taking their sweet time here. And still plenty of nades on the side of Big as well, so it's not going to get easier necessarily.
Yeah, trying to bait out some of that utility, right? So then at least if they win one in the next, they've kind of, you know, you have to force some rebuys. You're trying to keep Big as modest as you can. Only issue is we're not really seeing them kind of probe too much. You're not really seeing too many peaks from TYLOO until just moments ago, so they haven't actually baited out all too much. You take a look over those big utility belts and
Pretty stacked.
yeah, and you know God B's the kind of guy who he really likes to abuse stuff like that anyway. You know, like if this was him in this scenario, he would be looking to try and cost as much money as he could. So I think he's that much more lenient to not be throwing out all the utility in the world.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and reach match point here. The elimination point as well for TYLOO. They now have to go ahead and find themselves 9 rounds in a row if they want to pull this back. It would be absolutely unreal. We're going to need to see a monumental effort from the TYLOO boys. And right now, you know, still a few players falling silent. It's only really been somebody is the person to write home about, and that's not who we look for. I mean, it was a good start from Excret and Bentet, but they've fallen very, very quiet in this T-half.
Yeah. I think it's, you also see the fact that Mo hasn't never really gotten into the game. Still just pretty much contributing nothing, which is unfortunately becoming a bit of a trend for him in the latter couple tournaments that TYLOO have had. Usually the one to struggle. So far, Bentet just being the one to take some damage on the side of TYLOO. Super scary, but that is Smooya pushing forward off the back of his smoke. DD maybe thinking it's safe. Maybe we can get a peek in before the smoke blooms. It's going to cost him his life. And, well, forward position from Nex up in vents. It's going to be answered by Mo. Finally, he gets into the swing of things. Just take a bit of damage, but you'll take that in DD. Back to 4v4. But look at the push here from, is that Gob?
Yeah, Gob B. He's completely
circumvented everyone.
Yeah. But this, you know, while he's pincering on in, actually, this is going to be just fine. He gets behind them. He's going to hear the footsteps over here towards B. You would imagine, but no, the bomb's looking like it could go down here for TYLOO. This could be a way in.
Past. That's going to be a Smooya.
Yeah, that sort of misinformation, you know, does lead to the fact that now TYLOO have gotten into this B bomb site. You look at it, they had very little in terms of utility to actually manage to get across, but Gob B still in this backline, still doing damage. It's Bentet and Excret rather. The Indonesian powerhouse duo of TYLOO left to try and keep them in this. Already Excret tagged down low, and Big knocking on their door. Push coming on in. Smooya going to go ahead and miss the opener. Excret does manage the first. We need to see that much more from them. He's going to double down. Bentet there with another. Gob B left in the 1v2, and Excret, he's going to dig deep when they need him to the most. Gets the 3K, and somehow they manage to keep TYLOO afloat here on Cash.
That is pretty brilliant. You can actually see that Smooya thinks he's actually gotten the kill onto Excret there as he moves out on higher, stops shooting, and then there's a double take. And I think that's actually the game-changing, or you know, the round-defining moment that turns it into TYLOO's favor. But it is pretty fitting for TYLOO. I mean, Bentet, Excret, they are the two players actually on land this year who have won at the most 1vx clutches. Now you just combine the forces of the two, right? Then you have pretty much what should be an unstoppable duo. It proves to be true this time around as well. And still, though, they're not making it easy for themselves. That's not the kind of round you want to deal with as you're trying to come back here to stay alive in the tournament.
One thing I will say is that's more galores than I've ever seen on a team. And that, you know, like the only gun that hasn't changed is been picked up here for 3 of the players on TYLOO. Now, that's going to be on the back as well of only Excret and Bentet surviving. So, definitely less than ideal to have the AK's little brother into this round. It's a very important one at that. Sitting over here towards B, going to be Gob B. The bomb is down there.
Oh, Energia. It says on the sign right there. As Gob is boosted up on the box. Smooya in the middle this time now towards B. That makes sense as well. Gob with such a forward positioning does at least get early information if nothing else. But Excret is going to win at the duel versus Smooya. And DD has it in his head to actually check that position. Not too shabby at all. It means B bomb site is open for play, and that's what TYLOO are going to do. On the side of Big, though, they seem very keen on just holding on to their weapons already.
And I'll be honest, the thing for me right now over on this Big, CT said, I don't know your opinion on this, is I think they need to ditch this double up setup. I don't think it's working for them. They had a much better time, I think, when tabseN was able to go and take control with the rifle over in main early on and play off the back of that. I often think as well, if you think to a lot of events, normally, like, you know, you see Big start to struggle. They try and break out this double up between tabseN and Smooya, and it never really convinces me. I just think tabseN is so good when he's you know,
he's
very,
a better
very mobile.
rifler than he is an AWPer.
And
he's pretty much, every time they've gone towards his side of the map, he's found 3 kills, it feels like, with a rifle. So yeah, and I definitely agree with that. But for now, it makes sense to hold on to it. You can drop it off for Smooya if that's what you want to do. I guess because they will have to, they won't be able to buy a weapon for him in the next round. Maybe he holds on to it thinking, you know, he's kind of earned it. She goes down as well. So no double op managed or potentially held on to for Big either. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I'd much rather see Tabson on a rifle. That's where he really shines. I mean, he's gotten 29 kills, or 28 kills with the rifle so far in this game, so he's doing pretty well for himself with it. So I don't really see any reason to change the thing up. Nothing was fundamentally wrong with what Big were doing in terms of how they were playing, their setups and everything. So.
Well, yeah, that's he's a very talented AWPer as well, but it does feel like if it ain't broke,
it's kind of like when you see when you see Forrest opping, right? Like absolutely capable AWPer, can do great things with it, can win out rounds, etc. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you know what? You know what's going to happen now? Now that we've said this, Tabson's going to go ahead and ace this round and then lock in the 16th for Big. So I'm calling that now. We can go ahead and
wrap this one up.
Yeah, it's Tabson over towards middle. There's so many players here, and it's happening, isn't it, Halvor? We've only gone and done it. He's on to his second. He's going to turn his attention back towards Squeaky. Now, he might just miss the timing onto somebody.
Looks like spread TYLOO is, though.
And this is exactly how they ended up losing. That same force by, same anti-eco, I guess, Big, rather. Smooya now picking up DD, no trade potential, as it's kind of been highlighted as a consistent problem for TYLOO, which when you're up against these pistols, now you've given Big a chance to scavenge rifles. This is a good, this is a buy right now from the Big side. Tabson does get bested by Excurate. But I'm going to go down, though, for TYLOO, 2v3, and we need to see, once again, another standout performance from this man, the AWPer for TYLOO. He sits on the forklift. He's got to be prepared to do some heavy lifting. Body a quad. They're going to go out and find 2 quick kills between them. And Excurate, always so good in these clutch situations, it feels like, over in main. He's going to be laying down the pain. And that's a 9th round on the board.
Maybe that's why they're just dying all over the map, Set Excurate up in positions where he has to clutch it out.
Yeah.
It's the next level plays.
When he only worries about himself, he's just unreal, Otherwise, it's too much stress.
Too much to focus on. But yeah, Tabson doing his best to I guess, make himself worthy of an op, and it definitely does put Big into a great position to actually turn that around for themselves. But as well as he might do, still want to see him on the rifle. Here we go, though. It's a 9th round for TYLOO, so I mean they're gradually getting back into it. It's what, the 4th round in a row for them, if not the 3rd. In any case, though, pretty solid go of it here towards the end, and maybe Big are the kind of team to kind of get into their own heads. I mean, even though you have a lot of veteranship and leadership, nonetheless, in GOB B, can't necessarily control the mentality of every player on that side, so that might be getting into their head and start, do something with their nerves. Still early days. 6 rank push in, and Captain Mo, you really need to hit those. I mean,
yeah, he's certainly not looking like his normal self today as Captain Mo, which doesn't bode well for this comeback, but it is happening right now. And you always kind of feel like maybe when there is just this one guy doing absolutely insane, it's a lot easier to start to tilt, especially if you're Tabson, you're playing at such a high level right now, right? You're literally, you're kind of like uplifting the rest of the team. Like you imagine for him, you're asking a lot, for him to kind of stay at that same level, but also, he's going to be thinking like, come on, guys, I'm getting like 3 or 4 kills around, and we're still losing these somehow, right? So. Probably not going to be the healthiest atmosphere.
Like, how much more do I need to do here?
And that, for Tabson, it's like he's been in this situation times before with this team where it's just been like, Tabson, go kill everyone, and if he can't do it, then that decides around. Here's GOB B.
Oh.
There was GOB B, but Tech going to go ahead and drop him from the server. Now Tabson.
He's going to be able to find DD as he tries to swing out into mid, so there's no pressure from mid anymore. At least for them to worry about. Then next, he's going to dive further into the bomb site. Founds Bentet. Not able to retrieve the weapon, though, and get chased down here. He's playing around the smoke, but somebody... Well, Mo is hitting something at least. Well, he hits somebody, to be more accurate. And that's pretty much his contribution for the last 10-plus rounds, I want to say. Does that count towards his ADR? Might do, right? Yeah,
I mean, anything at this point is an improvement. But
he's having a real rough go of it. It's a shame to see, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter because TYLOO are winning rounds. So if this is the key to success,
and for Big, they've gone back into the double AWP, and I would love for it to prove me wrong, I really would. But I'm just thinking, you know, I think back as well to Belo Horizonte when they went out, what, sixth place there. And that was on the back of tabseN double AWPing alongside Smooya on Inferno. That's the map where it all kind of got stripped away from them. Here's Smooya. He's the man who usually dons his primary AWP for the big side. He's already opened up. And actually, that is such a massive kill to find. You can see the bomb has dropped right in their sights. Entirely, they've had to expend a decent bit of utility, forcing Smooya out here. Smoking it off as well just to retrieve that bomb. And you know, now you look at TYLOO's utility bells. 2 smokes left, 2 Molotovs. Not the ideal amount of utility.
No, still enough to get you know, a decent execution towards either of the bomb site. Ooh, TYLOO's actually going to drop down flashes though to make sure he's okay. We have 2 players committed pretty far into that B bomb site so far though on the side of BIG. Somebody might be sneering off towards A though, maybe to create some sort of a diversion. Hopefully create a rotation on the side of BIG. Actually going to think the better of it and move back. Yeah, actually, one of the issues that BIG might run into here with the double AWP setup is the fact that, yeah, no, you've got an AWP anchoring down the B bomb side, but tabseN's going to have to be a part of the retake at some point, and that is obviously pretty hard. So, wrong place, wrong time for TYLOO. As Bentet finds him, Smooya is there to help him out, and Gabi as well chimes in. Captain Mo goes down. 2 players left. It's the Indonesian duo once more. Execute. 10 seconds left. Could get the bomb plant down here. Oh, gets pushed from every angle, and Smooya's there to secure it. 16-10 for BIG. Eventually, they do manage to close it out. We did see a bit of a spurt from TYLOO towards the end there, but with how good of a first half they had on the side of BIG, with how strong of a start they had on their second half as well, I mean, it did feel like this was the Germans to take from pretty much every moment on.
Yeah, it did feel like it was BIG's game to give away as opposed to anything else, right? And you know, for the big guys, they'll be feeling happy about that. Takes a little bit longer than I think they would have liked, but still, a win is a win. And on the back of that, they send TYLOO home. BIG going to be dodging elimination for the time being. Now moving into that 2-2, you know, group, which is a pretty scary spot to be in right now. You know, I don't think it's going to be the easiest time of things for BIG. They're going to have to play again later today as well. And you imagine if for a team like BIG, that's not going to be the easiest task, right? They're guys who like to kind of break this down. I already mentioned how I heard them, you know, late at night, getting ready for this game outside my hotel room. That's what it felt like, by the way, you know, like out in the hallway, you know, Gabi's out there giving the orders. Almost. Yeah, you know, I really felt involved. It was quite nice, actually, to hear the hype around
Togethership.
Yeah,
togetherness, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you know, now they're going to have a little time to prepare for who they play next later on today. Big question is going to be, you know, can players like tabseN and Smooya keep this form up? You and I, though, we could hypothesize this all day long. We're going to go ahead and throw this over to an interview with the big boys.
I'm with one of the big boys right now. It's Gabi. I've been dying to talk to him this whole event because it's been a tough one for you. How on earth have you managed to keep your team together?
Yeah, we tried to stay calm. Yeah, we lost 2 games. We played 1 really bad half. I think other than that, we played kind of okay-ish in this event. We played really bad on Inferno T against Optic. Yeah, we didn't give us a chance to play good CT half on Inferno. That's why we said, like, okay, we just played 1 bad half. On Nuke, it was okay against Frexus. We could have won. We didn't think too much about it, to be honest. And then coming into the next 2 games, yeah, they were really stressful as well. We prepared as good as we can, and yeah, I think we played good CS, and now we can make it.
Would you be standing here right now, or would you still be in game if you didn't have tabseN?
Yeah, obviously he stepped up his game, and yeah, he's a really important player, especially on cash. He has a lot of key positions, and yeah, we were good prepared, and he had a good game, and that's a deadly combination.
You had definitely some testing moments in those final stages as you tried to close out the game. I heard a lot of noise, a lot of talkback from a certain young player. How do you keep him in line?
Yeah, we try to stay calm, but sometimes it's not working. But you know, this is how the game is. Sometimes it's stressful. We could have closed it out earlier, then the game would have been really easier, as you can say. And yeah, to be honest, it was just like sometimes stressful. After the game, we said, "Hey, sorry, I wasn't stressed." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." And the other guys said also, like, it can always happen. I try to stay calm, try to stay had everyone collected. But sometimes it's not working, but sometimes it's working better, yeah.
Well, you all seem very happy, and you've got 1 more match. Are we going to see you in the playoffs?
I hope so. Now we try to relax a little bit, see who we play next. And yeah, it will be a tough one for sure. There are a lot of good teams in 2-2, surprisingly. But as I said before the tournament, this tournament is a tournament where everything can happen because the teams are so close, and the teams which are favored are a little bit exhausted, I think. Like us, like Mousesports maybe. But yeah, in the end, maybe, hopefully, everything will be going fine and we make the playoffs.
Well, fingers crossed for an exciting match from you guys next. Thank you so much, Gob. We will see you later, fingers crossed. As for you guys, we've got Vegas Squadron versus Gambit coming right up. So let us know who you think is going to take that one in Twitch chat. But I need to head off because it's time to head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Frankie. You heard it from the man himself, where and which their T sides felt a little more comfortable. Things made a little bit more sense today. Not quite the Optic 16-2 showing we saw earlier this week.
No, it was more of what we expect from Big, right? You know, for so long, the narrative about Big, or at least the core with Gobbi, Tabson, and Legia it was just Tabson, right? He was the guy getting it all done. And now he's been, well, not now. He's always a star player. Here in this game, he's had a star performance once again, and Smooth chimed in within that second position. Towards the end there, when they were starting to lose those, you know, 2v4s, 3v4 type scenario situations, which they should have been closing out, I started to get a little bit worried. I was like, what's going on here? Why is this happening?
Is it a choke? Is it?
But it was just a matter of time. You know, that was a game where they won both pistols. They were able to convert the first. They got 2 on the second pistol. That's already 5 rounds on the board. We're talking a lot about pistols at the moment. So big factors there.
Enjoy them while you got them.
Yeah. Who knows how that's going to play out. But here, I think it was a cleaner game from Big, and it was more like a business as usual. I'm more scared going forward for them. It's a crazy pool that we're going to be in for the 2-2s.
Yeah, and I think a good storyline here for Big is that consistency thing. We talk about it time and time again with multiple teams, but here within Big, definitely Tabson shows up big today for what it's worth. In fact, boistering 129 ADR. This guy was off the Richter. And I guess, why is it that they can't figure out that consistency?
You just look at the players they've got. The only consistent player, I mean, you could make the joke that some of them are consistently not very good, but the only consistently good player is Tabson. Like he's the most complete player in the team.
Sure.
I think that's actually one of the reasons why you can usually rely on him, because he does so much. He's a great rifler. Sometimes he's not even in star positions necessarily where he gets all the resources. He definitely can secondary AWP if he wants to. There's so much the guy can do, but you look at the others. Nex is famously up and down. It's not even just the angle of like, yeah, if he's in a big stage match, I always bring up like the nerves aspect. I think just as a player, he's one of those guys where he doesn't always know how to get the best out of himself. Like, I don't think he knows what to do when his aim's off and when he's having an off game, you know. I don't think he does reposition. I think he just kind of does the same old thing. Smooya, I don't blame him much. He's very inexperienced. I think he's playing in a very different team style than he's used to in the past. You know, he's used to the more mixed team style, which is definitely not what this squad's like. I will say as well, like, Big is a team where, even though you've got Gobbi in that long history of tactical style, they're not a team that's running executes all the time. Like, clearly, part of what they do is, part of having been drilled like that is the option to do different things within the same strat and to make a read on the fly.
Well, Counter-Strike, like now, is so mid-round, right? And that's one of the advantages that I think Big, even though Big is speaking English, you know, I know that TYLOO have we've already spoken about the communication terms a million times, but Big, I think because of the theory and the prep that they actually do, it mitigates a lot of that, and that's something that I think, you know, you have to tout Gobbi for bringing to the team. But they do have some really cool executes. We saw that AXQ come in with the smoke on top of the red crate. That's, you know, offers up a couple of different angles there. I think it gives you almost a bit of a one-way as well over towards the truck if you do get up on that red crate. So there are little bits and pieces. If you want to steal strategies, like set executes, Big have some very well-drilled ones. So definitely watch their demos.
It's not necessarily these gimmicks that we can see, maybe a boost here or there, but it's, I guess, the cohesion of all of that at one time.
It's like a puzzle. This is the way I look at like Big's thing. You know, they have a puzzle that they're putting back, or they're calling via a recipe, right? And they're doing everything in the order that it needs to be done. And even if they, you know, they don't have enough eggs, they make it work.
Here's what we can talk about. TYLOO now are eliminated.
They're out. Peace.
They're gone. TYLOO's is exactly what happened. And of course, if we look at the numbers, Captain Mo didn't exactly lead from the front this time. In fact, led from the very back with a starch 5 and 19 and 24 ADR. Back in his wheelchair, I suppose.
Here's the problem. Like, Captain Mo's like justification for being in TYLOO, there's two factors. One, he's been in TYLOO forever, basically. Not really if you're really old school, but he's been in since the 1.6 end of it. Then you've got the other factor that he used to be the in-game leader. For me, the fact he's not the in-game leader, the fact that they don't speak Chinese even primarily in the team, he would be the obvious player in that team that I'm trying to replace. I'm trying to get someone else. I'm not sure what the role would be. I'd have to break it down on the demos, etc. But they've got so many quality players elsewhere in the lineup that I think you look at some of those other names, some of even the people they've had in TYLOO in the past, I think you could make a slight upgrade there and potentially make yourself a better team.
Yeah, what he seems to be bringing now, at least the impact that I remember him having during the Swiss systems at the major, was he turned into a bit of an anchor, you know, and not in the sense of bringing them down, but of the one we use in Counter-Strike 2 with bomb sites, right? There's several times, at least when it got to crunch moments, where he was, say, on the pit in Inferno, for example, and 2 or 3 multi-kills would come in from that position in the later stages. But when you do have Excurate, when you do have Bentet delivering early, you want your bomb site anchor to come in, so it isn't a 16-14 game, right?
You've got to think about those two players. Yes, they are up there in terms of consistency within this team, but again, this language barrier, this sort of language communication problem that they're having, that's got to factor in there.
I think they have to stay on this course that they're at, though, right? Because they've already
too good in comparison to the past, right?
You consider like how much of a mess, I guess, from maybe top 8 to top 15, 16, maybe even top 20 in the world is right now. TYLOO are definitely in there, right? There's no doubt about that there can be a contender to break into that top 10 or be a consistent force. It's just about, look, they've had that time chamber here to do a lot of practice within Europe, and I hope they use the next couple of days to practice even more and just keep fixing their mistakes, because the potential for this roster is definitely there. That's not something that should be in question. But Chase, what should be in question,
what's that?
Is the matchup that Big could be having on their hands, right? That 2-2 pool, right? We'll probably get a graphic for it soon.
Yep.
But we've got Hellraisers, Mouse Sports, North, Imperial, Big, and it's either going to be the winner of Vega and Gambit, who stylistically against some of those teams could really rattle the cages.
Could really mix it up around here.
Obviously, the scenario there is you just hope you don't see a matchup like, I'm trying to think what's been played before.
Yeah, there's so many games that have been played.
Well, why don't we take a look at it as it stands? Ints, Energy, Optic, Renegades, Fraxers are all in the playoffs thus far, leaving Imperial, Mouse Sports, Hellraisers, North, and Big. Of course, Vega and Gambit have to battle it out too, but there are teams still alive here.
Big can play any of those teams. They have played throughout this. They played Fragsters, they played Optic, Complexity, and TYLOO. So they can play any of the teams currently in that pool. I think, you know, what would be scary if we had like...
Mouse Sports.
Yeah, that's not one. That's one you want to avoid. But I think Mouse Sports, they were quite tilted after that loss, as you would be. I was walking into the venue and they were all outside and they looked pretty frazzled by that loss. Obviously, we have to wait for this next matchup to finish, the Vega versus Gambit, before we can really see where everything's going to lie. There can always be a little bit of overlap, especially with Swiss and how it's reseeded. But there are obviously 3 teams who have all qualified today. In my opinion, I would have had coming through in the 3-2 stage, not in the 3-1 stage. So the upsets by Renegades, Optic, and Fragsters are going to have massive flow-on effects, because we only have 3 more slots to fill, Trace, and 4 of those names I probably would have, maybe 5 of those names I would have expected to be in our top 8.
Yeah, I mean, the Fraxers one is definitely, I mean, them over North earlier today was not exactly forecasted by anyone, I believe. No. And I think comfortably said. I mean, North isn't necessarily a team we always tout for consistency, but they have seen that change in lineup. They've seen this sort of adjustment. Now they find themselves trying to stay alive in that lifeline, finding their way to the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, any closing thoughts on this one? Because I'm about ready to wrap it up myself.
This is just Swiss system. I mean, it's the way it goes. If you look at Swiss systems in history, it's very rare that the 3-0 teams are the best teams in the tournament. You oftentimes get a team that's very strong in the playoffs, coming from 3-2 and doing a lot of damage. It's one of the reasons why, in a weird way, it sort of ends up working out, because you oftentimes get a 3-0 team that gets like a really good team in that last seed and ends up losing them in the playoffs anyway. So I guess ultimately, as long as you don't get too many favorites matched up, sometimes that happens. Like, for example, in this setup here, I'd love to see like Imperial against Big. I think that's a great matchup, because then you've got a team where, like, if Imperial wins, they definitely deserve to go there. I think of the teams they've beaten.
Yeah.
But then again, Big's got the quality and the experience, so you've got like a great style mix fights matchup out there, I think.
Well, this is a definite battle to see who makes it to the playoffs here in Kiev, but that just about does it for me. I will be back on, we're off Thursday, so Friday. Friday, we'll be back here in Kiev at the Cyber Sport Arena. And we do have another matchup coming your way. It's looking like the likes of Vega and Gambit squaring off, one of which a CIS rivalry will be unfolded. One of these teams not sitting so hot going forward. One of these teams is trying to edge their way into the playoffs. I'm going to leave it to the edginess, kings and queens over here, and you guys can figure out who's who. And that'll be the end of it for me. Let's go ahead and go to a quick break. We come back. We got a few more games. And, well, there you have it. See you later.
Loot Bet. case multi-cases, you are no longer restricted by random case opening mechanisms. Now, you are able to pick any of the cells containing skins and actually determine what you win. Use the promo code and dive right in.